Godfather. So I started on Godfather and then went there. That was 2005 started, and they were both basically supposed to ship in 9 months. They didn't have anything. It was like they had a design doc, a really cool design doc that would look like a strategy guide. They called it
Yeah.
strategy guide. It was the coolest documentation I've ever seen, but it was documentation. They didn't actually have much built. And they're like, okay, Greg, here's some renderware, which was the tool at the time. They had bought it from Criterion, and they just put it all together. Got in there in the renderware. I sat down. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but cool. I'm like, what do you need? They're like, we need one of these fronts design. I was like, okay, front design. Okay. Or we need a warehouse. It was like, what's a warehouse? It's like, oh, this is where all the combat is. It was like, cool. All right. And so I put one together in about a day, and I showed it to the creative director at the time, Molson, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was a cool guy too. And he did all the Tiger Woods mechanics and the off the stick mechanics and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, which was awesome. When Black Hand and Godfather, I showed it to him. He was like, "Whoa, this is great!" And he went and got the executive producer, David DiMartini, and came over and looked at it. Who was also no, this is yeah, apparently I'm getting really old. And then he looked at it. He's like, "This is fantastic." It was like literally the first time they had seen like combat in like gunplay in their game. I was like, "Whoa, what did I just do?" Okay. And then from that point on, it was just like just churning through content and just making rackets and warehouses and doing anything that I could within the world to make it better. But it was super late, that game. It was like super, super late.
What was it? You guys just got like the what was it, like the rights to use the Godfather? Because I was watching some videos about it. I didn't get to play it.
Yeah, it was a parallel narrative to The Godfather. So you went and like talked with Luca Brasi at first, who's in the that's the main enforcer with Godfather. You kind of work your way up through the ranks, but you interact with various personalities as you go through the story. And so kind of like, so if Godfather's like this linear narrative, like
Yeah.
the game was over here and it kind of went back and forth, and they did a fantastic job with how it worked out. And they spent a lot of time mapping it out, which was really cool. It's just, they didn't build it at the end of the day. They built it. They spent a lot of time on the engine because they were trying to compete with GTA. GTA 3 had just come out. And so the expectations were through the roof about how much money it was going to make and everything else. And it just didn't, it didn't happen. It kind of like, so it's interesting now, the more I talk to people, there's this arc of like designers, right? So coming into that project so early, or sorry, so young, and so like just having played games, like all I did was play games and work on games, play games, and coming in and seeing it and be like, you're not going to let the player jump? Like, that's weird. Why wouldn't you let the player jump? Or, oh, there's water all over the place. This is New York, but there's no water in the game and we can't have swimming. It's like, okay, cool. So those are problems. Like, you guys we should do something about those. We should probably like have it. And there's this level of like, well, no, we can't do that because the tech doesn't allow us to do it, and we're not going to spend the time to build it out. And it's like, well, then I don't know, like, sounds like you should probably start over or change something. And you're so far into it that you can't do anything about it at that point. And so there's this kind of arc that I'm starting to develop, which is like, there's the junior designer who's very into the weeds of what games are. And then you have your, sort of your curve, which is as you get more and more designers with experience and everything else, you get some leads and stuff, and they have all of these restrictions on why you can or can't do things. And they've developed this mentality about what it is to be a good designer. And then you have this other end, which is, okay, here's the creative director or the game director who's just trying to make shit happen and who's trying to figure out, okay, how do I bring something innovative to this game? How do I bring something new to players? And so they actually have more in connection with the junior designers than they do with the mid-level designers. that makes any sense. And so it's like,
Yeah.
if you're in that position where you're a game director, or you're a creative director, and you're spending more time with your mid-level guys than you are with your junior guys, you're probably fucked, right? Like they're probably telling you something that is restrictive in some way, or that's not like
Yeah.
not in the norm, or not aggressive enough to make things interesting. There was a major plan for what the game was. There's like, here's
Okay.
all the rackets, here's all the the structure, here's the map. Like they even like one of my what was interesting is like one of the instructors that I had at Cogswell was the lead world builder for he ended up being the lead world builder for Godfather, which I didn't even know it at the time because he was an architect and he taught architecture class. But they brought him in as the lead world builder because they were building New York,
Yeah.
like for real. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, trying to build that out. And it was, I don't know why that's such a weird, I don't know why I went on that tangent now, unfortunately. But yeah, so they had a really big plan. They had like all the big developers in there. They brought a bunch of art directors and people like lighting and everything from I believe PDI was the one. So that was the one down the way. Like DreamWorks, there was DreamWorks and PDI, and it was DreamWorks did Toy Story, and PDI did the other one. And PDI was always like the other one.
Yeah.
And so they had a bunch of people from Hollywood. And I remember talking to people there as I was there. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this so I can go work in Hollywood. What?
Crazy. Yeah.
You're
Like,
making games, so you're doing art for this so you can go work in. I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. But sure, what I guess.